welcome to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Trevor Scott, and I'm rather tired today, so there's Ben to introduce himself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Ben Slinger. And Trevor's tired, I'm a bit buzzed. It's going to be a great episode. Should we just, do we want to do anything different? I don't know. Should we just do click pitch?
We'll see where the mood takes us.
All right, I guess we'll start with click pitch like we always do. For those just joining us, click pitch is a game where we each have a random word generator in front of us, and on the count of 3, 2, 1, click, we each get a new word, and we put them together, and we make a game out of that. Somehow make some horrible hybrid word monster that is also playable as a video game. Shall we begin? Yeah.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1, click.
Clamp. I'm going to clamp him. Clamp.
Subterfuge.
Subterfuge clamps. Clamps. Well, now I'm just thinking it's a Futurama game.
Yeah. I'm thinking that you've got to play Clamps, but he's like undercover.
Okay, so you can't actually clamp. You got to stop him from clamping things. Because for one, it's loud. You don't want to draw attention to your clamps.
So, because I'm feeling in a slightly weird mindset today, I'm thinking that rather than controlling Clamps itself, you control something in his AI programming. Okay. So, his whole thing is that he just wants to clamp the whole time, but you're sort of like a rogue AI program within his head that has to sort of stop the clamping from happening by I don't know, maybe doing some sort of puzzle thing in his head or something.
I like the idea that you're either a virus or a rogue AI in there, but the way you do that is you can just change a couple of letters in his core programming at a time, and so you get in there and it's just clamp, but you change a couple of words and now it's stamp, and so that's how you get past the bit where there's a bunch of bugs on the ground and you have to stamp on them, and then you change it to ramp, and that's how you get over the big jump.
Well, I was thinking you actually see a skateboard and then you just go ramp.
Yeah, that's it.
And he just starts going crazy on the ramp.
When he's in a social situation that he doesn't quite have anything to say, you change it to vamp, and he starts doing his comedy routine. Improvising
as part of that, you can actually change it to lamp, as in I love lamp, as he goes to do his Steve Carell impression from Anchorman.
Sure. Or he lights the area up, in that, which would probably be more effective as a gameplay mechanic. But no, he could do Steve Carell. And of course, it doesn't have to be rhymes necessarily. So you could clomp things. You could
climb things.
You could have a romp. Mm-hmm. It's a lot harder to think of things that aren't just rhymes. I'm not very good at boggle. But no, I kind of like that idea that you've it almost is a boggle thing. Maybe you've got a certain number of letters. Maybe you can rearrange them too.
Oh, and occasionally you have to actually use clamps. So it's like, okay, you want to clamp this one, you want to crimp this, and then you want to do something with lamp.
Yeah. Then you have to clap. You just give him a bunch of extra vowels. And
you've always got the lap dance.
I guess you could kind of. Sure, lap dance. That's like the final boss. Yeah. All right, I think I've got as far as you can on that one.
3, 2, 1, click. Gambit.
Boxing. Okay, Gambit. So, we could go the X-Man, but I don't know much about him. I think he's from New Orleans, and he throws cards. Magical cards. But I don't know enough about the X-Men to really go down that.
Now I'm just picturing Gambit, but all the mystical cards have been taken away from him, so he's just learning how to box.
So that's it. That's the whole game. It's let's take one of the characters that most people don't like in the first place, and then not even give him his cool powers.
So I remember back in I think it must have been 2004, EA Sports released a boxing game.
Oh yes,
that was actually really quite
heavyweight or something.
Yeah, heavyweight championship or something like that. So we haven't seen a boxing game in quite a while.
Fight Night? Are you thinking of Fight Night?
Yeah, it must have been Fight Night.
Yeah,
and obviously Wikipedia has come to the rescue again on that one.
Oh no, that was purely it was Wikipedia. 2004, good job. Jeez,
you know how I remember that? Mm-hmm. That's when I was working for the company that modded the Xboxes and stuff like that. So
yes,
2003 to 2006, I was working for a company where we repaired and modified Xboxes and PlayStations and shit.
Sure.
And I remembered that it was around 2004 that I was playing that, and I'm like, fuck me, that was like 14 fucking years ago.
God. Yeah, it has been a while since we've had a boxing game.
So at least a good one.
I mean, the big thing about Fight Night was the whole using the thumbsticks to really like control your punches and stuff, right? Which worked pretty well.
So what I like about that is you could actually have a career mode in which you're playing a boxer, and depending on your choices throughout, you could end up in like some pretty bad things where you're like betting on your own fights and all that sort of stuff. You could actually have a real interesting narrative that you could sort of go down to.
I like that idea.
Come out the other side and sort of realize that maybe the way that you went about it was the wrong way.
Yeah, no, I like that idea. Sort of I like that idea around, because obviously there's a lot of stuff around organized crime in like illegal gambling and on particularly around fighting and stuff. Yep. So I like that idea of having a narrative around it. Like ostensibly, it's just a boxing game. Like the gameplay is the boxing, but you've got kind of in between bits that are maybe a bit more just like simple adventure-ish, or just like going around and having conversations with people.
Yeah, and it could be one of those things that you pick a manager early on based on you choose which gym you were starting out in, and it goes from that gym, you get seen by a coach who goes, this I really want to see this guy. And
his name's Jim too. You coach his gym. You found the right gym at the gym.
The idea being that if you start out in like a random gym, this guy happens to be real bad news and.
Sorry, I just like the idea of a random gym, like JIM though, like someone's name.
Yeah, random Jim's gym.
Random Jim's gym.
Jim's Gymnasium. And his surname is Nasium, so it's Gymnasium. I don't know. You got me going down this.
No, I know. Sorry, I put you down that path, and then I couldn't think of anything to follow it up with. Okay, yeah, I like that idea. But I think what happens is like halfway through, like you're going through. So you start in a random gym. You've got some backstory that could be randomized too, even. For why you want to like get good at fighting. It might be revenge. It might be like your father died when you were a kid and always wanted you to be a boxer, and now you're finally doing it. Or, it might be just for the money, whatever. You've got some backstory. You go through the gym. You make your way up, obviously, through the ranks. But you do notice in this game that like you make your way to the top pretty quickly, and you can just imagine the player going like, "What? This game is too short." And then when you're in one of the sort of in-between adventure bits, and of course you've had all these things happen around organized crime and having to throw a few fights or whatever, but you get to the top, and then you're outside in the dark and you're like having a cigarette, you notice a light in the sky, and it turns out that the whole first half of the game was you being tested, and you were one of the best boxers on Earth, and now the aliens have come down to take you to fight the galactic boxing war. Mm-hmm. In Alpha
Show
Centauri.
me what you got.
And so the latter half of the game, it's still boxing, but you get to box like aliens and shit. Yeah.
Okay. So I like the idea of where you're going. What I'd like to actually see, though, is the reason why you go to the top so fast is because your manager is actually organized for all these people to throw their fights. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it just so happens that everyone threw their fight, letting you get all the way through, and therefore...
Well, maybe what it is your manager is an alien, and he knows about this whole, intergalactic search for the best boxer of all time, and he sees his opportunity to get you to the top. But, he sort of didn't think it through of like, well, if you get to the top without actually getting those skills, you're going to like get fucked up. But that creates your like underdog story that you need for that second half, where against all odds, you punch the evil alien dictator in the face.
But it
which
turns
happens
out
to
the
be on
face
his
happens
butt.
to also be his genitals.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of went in the same. It's kind of all just one amorphous
Yep.
genital face
Blob.
Mhm. Genital butt face
So
blob.
I'm going to ask you a question, and you're not going to expect what I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
Soundtrack.
No, I knew you were going to say that. Soundtrack. Okay, yeah, we don't usually talk about the soundtrack. Interesting. David Bowie comes to mind.
Okay. I was leading in
Just because that's the
more
first
of a-
like spacey sort of.
Yeah, I was just thinking like Beastie Boys, like
Okay.
intergalactic, planetary,
Right.
planetary, intergalactic.
So go down that
And-
realm. Yep.
And then I was just thinking about how awesome all trailers are that use all the different like Beastie Boys tracks.
Yeah,
And
mostly
it's like-
mostly Sabotage, right?
Yeah. And then I started thinking, okay, so you could actually have a little bit of Rage Against the Machine, a few other like real heavy sort of stuff that could come up during certain fights, and
Sure.
maybe that could be
Mostly
maybe that could
90s
be,
rock and rap, it sounds like.
yeah.
Rock rap.
What I was thinking is, you know how like in Street Fighter games, how there's like the meter that goes up and up and up and up. So I think the
Yes.
idea being that as it goes up and you get into like the hyper fight mode where you're doing all your really awesome boxing, that's where like the soundtrack just really kicks in.
yeah,
so-
totally.
And therefore, if you're timing to your internal soundtrack that's going on, because I like
Yeah.
the idea.
So it's
that,
actually part of the gameplay. It's not just
It's actually
sort
part
of
of the gameplay,
an added bit to the ambiance of fighting, and you get some heavy rock going, and Eye of the Tiger starts up just to really be obvious with it.
rising up.
Yeah, I don't know the words.
Thought that was going to be sing along.
I think we should click again.
Okay, I like that idea though. That's got some.
Yeah, look,
some
I
interesting stuff.
like the idea of a narrative around. I mean, I find sports games really boring usually, but I could get behind a sports game where
With narrative.
with a bit of narrative around it and some characterization, and then you get to mix up the actual the sport bits a bit, right? Like, because in this one you get into a street fight, and that's a bit different, and you're in a different area, and go onto an alien spaceship. At the end of the game to prep for the sequel, they send it back in time. So you've got all sorts of things you can do to really mix it up a bit.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, click.
Taping.
Sprinkle.
Sprinkle.
Yep.
Taping. So, okay. This might not turn into a game, but I have an idea.
Good. 'Cause I've got nothing.
So you know how people are really want a new Pokemon Snap game?
Yes.
So, for those who haven't played it, including me, I just know about it. Pokemon Smack.
It's where they all get hooked on heroin.
Yeah, and then you have to smack them around. No, Pokemon Snap was a game where you kind of had to. I don't even know. I guess did you walk around in like first person? I don't know. Anyway, the idea was to take photos of Pokemon. Like there was a challenge in just capturing photos of these Pokemon, and you got points for how good the photo was or something. I don't know. What if we had a game for people who are really into food and food porn, where you have to take photos of food in the wild and like collect
Other people's food.
photos of other people's food. So you can sort of get that Instagrammy, people taking photos of their food thing in there.
But you're surreptitiously sort of going in and taking a picture of some guy's
Yeah.
lasagna before he takes a bite.
That's right. You get points for it being undisturbed. So you've got a time frame from when it's put down on the plate, or on the table, to when they take a bite. Maybe you can alter the environment in some way that means they're more likely to wait. Maybe you can send a bottle of wine to their table, which means they're going to at least, take a moment to take a sip of wine before they dig in to their veal parmigiana.
I mean, I'm just picturing like the best quality photo that you could actually have is like it's a real zoomed in photo of this perfectly stacked up lasagna that has like steam coming off the top.
Oh yeah,
and it's like it's super in focus, and everything else in the background is like out of focus.
Oh, that's it.
The amount of time to actually get that actually happening is like
not very much at all. Like if you've got a blurred fork coming into view, you've lost 80% of the value of that photo. And so I picture there's someone who's just really into food. Like he's a food voyeur.
Yeah.
It's definitely a man because that's who would have this sort of fetish. But he's paying you top dollar. He's paying you top dollar for these photos.
Oh no! So you're not playing the guy with the fetish. That's okay.
No. He's paying you to get these shots, and maybe in later levels, you've got rival photographers in later levels.
His whole thing is that he doesn't like people in the photos.
No, it has to just be the food. Has to be undisturbed.
At the table.
Has to be in focus. I mean, I think it can be. Look, obviously, we want to mix it up and have different situations.
Oh yeah.
And look, the way I got into this is from Sprinkle. I was thinking of fairy bread. So you could have, and considering we talked about this being a fetish, this is really creepy, but you could have like a kids' party where you have to get a photo of the cake and of the food on the table.
Okay, so how it actually starts is it's in a flashback, and you're a kid who's just got a camera for his birthday.
Okay.
And
you find
the whole thing is like
you go around. I love the idea that you
taking a photo of all the different but I love, like foodstuffs.
I love the idea that you it's a playable flashback, and you get this camera and it sort of gives you the general controls for the bringing the camera up and focusing and stuff. But if you try to take a photo of anything except food, it comes out looking like dog shit.
Literal dog shit.
Well, you could. That's an Easter egg, an Easter Bakasek.
God.
But like it prompts you at some point to like, oh, why don't you try taking a photo of something that's not moving or whatever? Because like everything you take is out of focus, and you like take a photo of the fairy bread and it comes out perfectly, and there's like a moment as you realize you find your calling.
Oh, you see the God rays, you see everything.
Oh, totally, yeah.
One thing I do want to actually say that there has to be on this camera. There's actually like a few different modes that you can switch to. So there's like the sports mode and all that sort of stuff.
Oh yeah, I think we should add
actual food mode.
Oh, like, on the one that you get for your birthday, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, it gives you a hint in the fact that it's one of the modes you can just switch to, and it's got like a burger or a piece of cake. Oh, actually, it's got to be a piece of cake because a piece of cake just has that perfect shape with candles. So I like the idea that you're trying to focus all these things, and then maybe you can.
Well, I think what happens
in some of the levels, you can actually set up lighting and that sort of stuff. So if you
or it's just again, it's about the timing, or it's about your choice of victim. Or choice of subject. But before we get to that, I like then the idea of you get another flash forward to this character as a teenager, where now they are like one of these people who take Instagram photos of their food. Like, so then you get a chance to, and that's where you learn some of the more advanced techniques without the pressure
of filters.
Well, filters and but without the pressure of the timing and stuff, because you're taking photos of your own food. So you get a few levels where you get to like experiment with lighting and focus and different settings, but of your own food. And that's when, or maybe it's that you run a food blog or something. You write a food blog, and that's how this person finds you. So you get a call or an email or something. It's like, I've got a proposition for you.
I'll give you lots of money if your next blog post is, some kid's birthday party with fairy bread. Okay, awesome.
Well, or maybe we won't go back to the fairy bread because that does get a bit creepy when it's voyeuristic then. But yeah, actually, that's a good way of like, is this person for real? Oh, well, like, what can it hurt? I'll take a photo of someone else's food. Like, that's the stipulation. It's like, if you take a photo of someone else's food, I will send you $1,000. As long as that's a good enough photo.
You know what I kind of want? I kind of want it that you can actually go into a restaurant and you can order a piece of food for yourself, so you don't look weird being in there just with the camera and all that sort of stuff. And then you're trying to take a photo of someone else. But if you happen to take a photo of your own food, after a little while, like he actually sends you like a message on your phone that actually says, "I saw you take that photo of your own food," and it's just like a security cam video of you taking the photo of your own food and then eating it. And
like, he doesn't want you taking any photos of your own food. Like, so this just sort of keeps getting more and more intense as the missions go on, and you realize this person is unhinged.
And it's all about having it's got to be other people's food. It can't be your own food. That's that's his fetish.
Yeah, and it just like totally ruins the mood if even if he doesn't see it, if he knows you're taking photos of your own food.
I just like the idea that he's constantly videotaping you and actually,
Oh, that too. It ends up, he doesn't even care about the photos. His fetish is actually watching someone take photos of other people's food.
I just really, really think that it could go into a really creepy and interesting narrative.
Look, you could be sort of a psychological thriller, but at the same time have some really interesting
awesome
gameplay
photos.
around taking photos and like setting up with your huge telephoto lens across the road from the most expensive restaurant in town because you couldn't get a reservation.
Okay, so now the question is, is it in VR?
Ooh, could be, yeah.
Because I really like the
idea.
Of
I wasn't even thinking of that, but
like you're pulling up the camera and actually clicking the button. You have to actually turn. Say I'm using Oculus Touch because that's what I've got. But you turn it up and you use your one finger to pull down the trigger as you've turned it up.
Yeah, no, I like that idea. Yeah, like you're holding the touch controller like horizontal, so the trigger's on top. And pulling the trigger takes a photo. And I like the idea that it's like a digital camera, right? So you pull it down, you can look at the screen, you can see the shot you just took. You can use your other hand to like change some settings and things.
And you can actually, rotate the zoom. You could actually have, a real physical sort of
that'd be cool.
interaction.
Why hasn't anyone done that in VR yet? Some like really good camera mechanics like that. That'd be awesome, actually.
So the final thing that he wants you to do is take a photo of like a Homer Simpson style donut.
What do you mean?
Well, you've seen a Homer Simpson style donut.
Oh, is it just like the Simpsons, the very classic?
It's got the
I didn't know what you were
top.
getting. Yeah, okay, just the classic Simpsons donut. Okay,
but it's got to have a single bite out of it, and it's got to have like 3 crumbs on the side.
Right.
Sort of like someone's just taken that awesome last bite.
It's like he finally takes his fetish to the next level of now the food has to now the food has to look like someone that it's the best meal someone ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 3 to 1 click.
Okay. Radar.
Suckling.
Okay. Now mine was radar as in RAIDR. Not radar like the acronym.
You said radar, and I immediately pictured the character from MASH.
Yeah, of course you did.
No, but radar and suckling. Okay. So I'm picturing that this is sort of like a...
It's all right. It's all right. You go first.
Okay. I'm picturing it's a group of like raiders. So within the group there is... it's like a big family unit. There are babies who have been born into this thing, and they're suckling at their mother's breast and all that sort of stuff.
What sort of kind of like what are they raiding? Like what sort of setting are you thinking of this in?
I'm thinking this is sort of England.
But okay, because like where do you have sort of roving bands of raiders?
I'm picturing sort of like old castles all over the place. There's
okay, so like ancient England, like okay.
Ye olde English.
Ye olde English. All right. Yeah, okay, that makes a bit more sense.
So I'm picturing that it's all about how this group can actually survive, and the only way that they can sort of survive is go in, steal food for the group. And
okay, so it's sort of creating a bit more of a personal story about what otherwise would usually just be a kind of one-dimensional, well, they're raiders. They come and they kill everyone and they steal shit and we have to defeat them.
But the idea being that you're in a small group of raiders that you have a son or a daughter that's only young when you first start the game.
Yep.
But you're running out of food. So, it's now that thing of it's kill or be killed.
Okay, and so you're trying to protect your child and get them enough food, but of course that means like leading a band of raiders into castles to steal and kill and pillage.
Well, what you can have is you can have the easy and hard way. So the hard way being, living off the land and, foraging for berries and vegetables and that sort of stuff.
So there's not a
killing animals and that sort of stuff. But then you can also go the easy way of, well, if you go raid this village, you can
okay. I was sort of thinking that there was some sort of preconception here that you were raiders, but it's just that you're a group of peasants, like who don't have homes.
Yep. Because maybe another group
like
of raiders
Feudal
has come
England.
through and Feudal England.
And you have to survive.
I so love the fact that this could actually be like an alternate timeline of like you've got like an emperor, sort of like in feudal Japan, but it's set purely in England, and it's got that sort of same timeline. So you got like samurai and Ronin and that sort of stuff, but it's specifically like you're now going into.
Well, I mean, that's
Sherwood
basically what knights are and stuff, though, right? Like there was feudalism in England. I don't know enough about what feudalism actually means, but yeah, that sort of time period with there just there's a lot of poverty and peasants, and like there's the sort of upper class that owns the castles and the land and such. Yeah, that's interesting. So just basically sort of the life of a peasant group in that time period
who has lost their family, or not their family, has lost their land and their and their town, and they're now having to to sort
their only choice is to try to either live off the land or raid and be a bit more violent about it. Yeah. So can I tell you my idea?
Of course you can.
So our words were suckling and raider, and so you play a 3-year-old.
Okay.
Whose mother has decided it's time to wean you off the breast. No more breastfeeding.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not ready for it. So you're at a park and you have to sneak your way onto the breasts of other mothers.
Oh no. No.
Call it milk raider.
Yeah, no.
It's all right because you're a 3-year-old. Like, there's nothing sexual about it.
No.
And it's set in feudal England.
Well, that's okay then. 3 to 1 click. Parkway.
Weaving. Weaving Parkway. So my very first image that went into my head is those, what do they call those roads in like San Francisco on the big hills to like, where you kind of go back and like you weave back and forth to go up
Chicanes?
a hill? No. It's called shit.
In racing, they'd be called chicanes.
Yeah. But I'm talking about like multiple weaving back and forth up a hill, right? Like that's the way to get up the hill is they've created, there's a fucking word for it. Anyway, that was what came into my head. I'm looking for it now. Here, Lombard Street. What's that called? Well, they call them hairpin turns, but there's another name for that actual thing. I'm pretty sure. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter now. Okay, so you're picturing one of those roads from San Francisco.
Yeah.
With the whole idea of weaving in Parkway.
Yeah.
So, where's the game?
Well, there are lots of things you could do on a road like that. You could skateboard down it. There hasn't been a good skateboarding game in a while. You could rollerblade down it. You could go down it in a wheelie bin.
Oh, God. It's bringing back memories. Shopping trolley.
A shopping trolley. Maybe this is like an extreme backyard sports game where it's all the dangerous shit that kids do that their parents don't know about. So it doesn't just have to be on this road. That can just be the kicking off point.
Yep.
It can be things like rope swings into lakes and how far you can get. It can be diving off cliffs. It can be climbing
Rope
big
swings
trees.
into shallow lakes and
exactly
broken backs.
Yes, it can be like running along the tops of half-built houses. I never did that, but I assume it happens.
It could be train surfing.
Yeah. It could be ghost riding the whip.
What actually is that? Like,
it's when you get out of your car while it's moving and get on top of it.
Whenever I think of Whenever I think of ghosting, I just think of what we used to do as kids, and it was
I guess
so
you don't get on
fucking
top
dangerous.
of it. Oh, no, some people get on top of it. But anyway, yeah.
It was so fucking dangerous. You'd be riding down a hill, and you just jump off your bike. And it's like your bike just rolls down the fucking hill.
That's ghost riding your bike, yes. That's it.
I remember there's a road near my parents' place, well, my old parents' place, called Winifred Road, and I had a good friend who lived on it. Mm-hmm. And right down the end of the road was where we went to kinder. Mm-hmm. So we were only like 6 or 7 riding our bikes on this fucking hill. And I remember jumping off the back of the bike, letting it roll all the way down, seeing bike go through car.
Oh, God.
I'm like, holy shit.
So dangerous. You could have killed someone. But that's what this game is about. It's about potential child death in that fun...
I wasn't on the bike.
I know.
But the
you could have been. No, I think it's basically like an Olympics game, right? It's like you compete for these events. You set up these events, and it is like shopping trolley down the steep hill, and how far you can rope swing into the shallow lake, and all the dangerous shit that kids do. Balance beam across,
So question, is it set in the 80s?
Yeah, I feel like the 70s or 80s makes sense. There's a very Stand By Me vibe to it, right? Yeah,
so I'm seeing that like these kids are talking about all the awesome stuff that they can do, and they decide to come up with all these different things, like the shopping trolley down the hill and all that sort of stuff, but they don't know anything about technology or anything like that. So I like the idea that they're not just going, we'll just look on the iPad. Or...
No, they're not like filming it and shit. Like there's none of that sort of we're doing this for YouTube. It's it's all just for the fun of it and the competitiveness of it. And yeah, I feel like you could create and you could even have a bit of characterization around the kids, where they've all got their sort of specific archetypal characters of those of groups of kids like that, and you can choose from them in a sort of Mario Kart kind of way, where each of them has their strengths and weaknesses, and maybe aspects of like bravery come into it or something. That. The shyer kid is not going to go down the big hill because, or he's not going to do as well going down the big hill in the shopping trolley because he's too afraid. So, you occasionally get like debuffs or something because it gets too scared and he like wobbles or whatever.
Well, I'm totally picturing one of the games is you got lawn darts and you're throwing them up into the air and seeing who can stay there long enough before running away.
Yeah. And I'm kind of just pitching a very simple style. Like I'm picturing almost like
California Games style,
or like Skate or Die, right? Like those games from the 80s.
Fuck, they were good.
And look, we don't have to actually go that retro with the style, but just that fairly simplistic gameplay. And the idea is that you play it all like taking in turns around the computer that's in your living room.
Yeah.
The CRT monitor on top of a like grey case with a fucking turbo button on it.
I'm really trying to think what other stupid stuff we did as kids.
Look, it could just be throwing rocks at cars and
baiting the neighbor's dog and running away and seeing
exactly
who doesn't get bitten.
Walking along the train tracks. Or maybe it's like putting coins on the train tracks or something. It's like how many coins you manage to put on the train tracks
before it derails.
Yeah, or before the train clips you and you have to go to hospital. We should probably avoid child death, but injury's okay.
So this is obviously rated R18.
Well, yeah, we don't want kids getting any ideas.
No. So I think this is one of those things that you put special technology in so that people can't actually stream it.
Okay. How do you do
so that kids, therefore the parents, have a better chance of keeping this away from their kids.
Well, Twitch has got all those like things that hook into games now. So maybe what it is in a very Leisure Larry style, you have to answer questions that you'd only know if you were born in the 80s or the 70s. So it's like, what planet was Alpha from? I would get that wrong. That's right on the tip of my tongue, actually. But
Melman, is it? Or
no, that's his race. That's his race, I think.
Oh, fuck.
Now I have to look it up.
Yeah, so
of course.
Or is it Melmac?
Melmac. No, you're close.
Melmac.
You're close. Okay, that is the planet. Melmac.
So there you go. I was actually pretty.
You're pretty close. So you
on that.
almost would have got to play this game.
Yeah, but it would have been, a multiple choice, and I would have gone Melmac. There it is.
Yeah, and look, I mean, the problem is that
unless it was Melmar, Melman, and Melmac, and it's like fuck you.
That's definitely what you should do. Yeah, I mean, Google's a thing, so that kind of makes it difficult. But maybe you've got a certain amount of time, and there's like 1,000 questions, so you never know. You can't just memorize them all if you're, a 12-year-old. Because a 12-year-old just isn't going to know what the catchphrase was from your little girl in Full House. I also can't remember it.
I'm trying to think. What the fuck Michelle's catchphrase was.
I didn't even remember her fucking name. Oh,
you got it, dude.
Well, no, wasn't it like how wooed?
No, that was Stephanie. That was the middle child.
She said that? See, I don't even fucking remember. I would never get to play this game. I'm a terrible kid of the 80s.
Yeah, so, okay, 3, 2, 1, click.
Yeah. Impossibility.
Vernacular.
Okay. Word-based games are often difficult because computers aren't good at understanding sentences, but... Impossibility vernacular. So maybe this is about slang terms for... where does the impossibility come in? Time travelers?
So, okay.
Yeah.
Where I'm seeing that in this particular story, they've gone back in, they've sort of uncovered the first ever writing of people.
Okay.
And it actually turns out that it's somewhat of an impossibility because it is actually English. Like everything is actually written in English in this one particular thing, and you've carbon dated it, and it is literally impossible that
it's definitely thousands and thousands of years old, but
it's definitely so many thousands of years old.
But somehow it uses the word fleek,
or it uses a derivative of that because it could be time travel.
Yeah.
So the idea that it could just be this sort of story as to you find out this particular. I'm trying to think of what they find the original Rosetta Stone or whatever it is, and it turns out that it is actually pure English, and
so
all like the languages that have popped up on Earth are actually based originally off of something that came before Latin, which was actually English.
It was actually English. Just so far back that it hasn't been realized by linguists yet
because it was never uncovered.
Yeah. Okay.
And
so
then the idea that
I really like the idea of solving a time travel mystery through archaeology. Mm-hmm. That is cool, particularly if you reveal it in interesting ways. Where they find just a couple of sentences written in what seems to be close to modern day English, but is definitely 4,000 years old.
Yep. The words "winter is coming."
Yeah, it's definitely some sort of pop culture reference. It's like, where's the beef? That's not at all topical, but...
Bazinga.
Bazinga. It just says bazinga. But, so then you as an archaeologist you start looking for clues. You start following the clues for this and you dig up some more and maybe you find some artifacts then, which leads you to believe that the only possible conclusion is that someone from the near future has gone back in time and left this stuff there. And of course...
# sorry, not sorry.
Right, yeah. You see a cave painting and it's got # no filter next to it.
So that sometime within this game's universe, you're actually going to find out.
Well, that's it, right? Of course.
Who the time travel.
Yes, you start making connections to the story happening in the current day of, wait a sec, there's this connection here, and it turns out you actually know the person who goes back in time, but they're not a scientist or anything. They just, so you're kind of having to figure out at what point are they going to go back in time because, they're just at grad school for literature. I don't know. And then the game ends with them falling through a wormhole or something. No, a better climax than that. But this is how we write stories on this podcast. It's okay, so it's this really cool story. It's got this interesting concept, and then there's a really great climax. All right, 3, 2, 1, click.
So you said climax, and what went into my mind is they're having sex, they climax, and they instantly spontaneously combust.
Oh, and it turns out that people spontaneously combusting are actually time traveling.
They're time traveling back in time.
Mm-hmm.
So it turns out there's this whole group of people that have turned up in in the past. And they've all been plucked from different points of history.
Oh, but they all end up in the same place?
Yeah, basically you've got all the people that have ever spontaneously combusted, and you can maybe even talk about, the frogs raining and all that sort of stuff, like the few weird things that have gone on.
Yep.
They're just after effects of this time travel.
Right.
But there's this group of people who have realized that they needed to pluck all these people out of history to actually instigate language throughout the world.
Right. So they're basically kickstarting the sort of ascension of the human intelligence by paradoxically taking some of those people from the future and bringing them back into the past.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that's interesting. And so you end up discovering this whole civilization from back then of all these people from basically the 20th and 21st century.
And even earlier, like there can be 16th century in there and that sort of stuff because of, there's stories of people spontaneously combusting, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, probably.
From that early. But just the idea that your friend you see spontaneously combusting.
Why were you watching them have sex?
Because you're a cuckold.
Or you've got a cuckolding fetish. Like you were watching because
it's your wife.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. But like, some people are into being cuckolded, so they like to watch their wife or partner make sweet love to somebody else, and then spontaneously combust. Like that's all part of it. He definitely came. So yeah, okay, and so then you in the future, I don't think that should actually be the character. I was picturing a woman who's an actual like archaeologist and is discovering this stuff because you can get a very Dan Brown kind of vibe going on where you're solving these mysteries through archaeology, but yeah, there's this whole time travel aspect of holy shit, like the fashion you start getting imprints from rock of the cloth that they used, or I mean, I guess they probably have some sort of cloth from that time, particularly if it's synthetic. Imprints of fucking transistors and shit. Like you somehow managed to find remnants of an iPhone.
What I would love is that one of the flashbacks that you sort of have is, of you and your dad, and he's got like this amazing like engraved belt buckle.
Okay.
But you happen to find the belt buckle, and that's what sort of...
And like your dad went missing years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not that you knew that he spontaneously combusted. It's just like missing person. But this confirms to you that something weird has gone on. And that's what sort of reminds you of like maybe there can be some sort of time travel happening that's what convinces you of the fact that this is actually happening. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's a really interesting narrative you could put in place there. I mean, the gameplay obviously is probably just going to be sort of adventure gamey at this point, with some of those sort of CSI kind of little thingies of when you're actually digging up stuff and finding stuff.
What I kind of like about it is that it's a flipping of the old woman in the fridge to be a man in the fridge. He's literally not there, so it's just doing to a male character.
Yeah.
That's characters all the time.
Yeah, that's the impetus for their story for sure. Cool.
All right. 3 to 1 click. Newborn.
Noise. Well, we are both parents.
Mm-hmm.
So we know about newborns and we definitely know about noise in relation to such.
I'm going to throw a new wrinkle into this one.
Okay.
It's not a human newborn.
Okay. It's a newborn cockroach.
Well, I think it can be just part of the animal world or something like that, because the one thing that really sort of surprises me about the way the animal kingdom works and the way the human sort of world works. Mm-hmm. Have you ever noticed that, like, if a cow gives birth to a calf, or a deer has a baby deer, they can walk almost instantly.
Yeah.
They're born and they're just able to walk. It takes 3 fucking years or whatever for humans to get to that sort of level of awesomeness.
Yes. Now, there are reasons for that.
What's with that?
Well, the reason that I've heard is that because the cranium is so large to fit our large brain, but babies have to be born at an earlier stage of development, otherwise they will not fit out the birth canal. It's to do with the physiology around the brain. That's not interesting for video games, though.
So in other words, I'm now picturing that there's a hyper smart animal who gets born with like a massive head.
Okay, so it's like it's an alien newborn where they just have this massive cranium, but they're born even earlier in their development because they're just super smart. But it means that for an even longer time, they are completely helpless.
Yeah.
And also they make a hell of a lot of noise. All right. So, I mean, we've kind of done raising alien babies before, I'm not sure. But
yeah.
I like the idea of it really being this very much this completely helpless newborn. Yeah, what sort of gameplay could we bring into that? I mean, the noise, it could almost be so we could go a couple ways. I'm picturing an Inside or Limbo-esque game where you are a character, a human, who near the beginning discovers this alien baby, but you have to there's a lot of sneaking and there's a lot of puzzle solving where you can't leave this baby alone for too long or it starts screaming.
And that just alerts.
And that alerts nearby.
Everyone.
Yeah. So I guess I'm trying to think what the danger is. Is this similar to Inside? Is it like a totalitarian society that you're on the outskirts of, or are there dangerous creatures around and you're in a jungle, an alien jungle? Maybe you're an astronaut. Maybe you're an astronaut landing on an alien planet in a hazardous alien jungle area to start with. And so you're starting by not being attacked by wild animals. And then later on you find the alien civilization and such, but maybe you find out that maybe it's you know how, in some species, if the, babies are touched by other, by humans or the mother rejects them and they just kill them or eat them. Maybe you find out that that's the case here. And so when you do eventually find kind of the parents or the civilization that this alien's from, you realize quite quickly that they're going to kill it, and you've grown attached to it by this point.
So where I'm actually picturing, I know that you said alien world and all that sort of stuff. I'm picturing actually everyone thinks that the Area 51 is in the desert in New Mexico or whatever. Yeah. Turns out that it's actually just on the outskirts of the Bermuda Triangle. Okay. And you're a scientist who's actually been working for Area 52 or whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
And an alien has turned up in the nursery.
Okay, it's just there in the nursery. Is this a normal
I'm
thing that
picturing
happens?
This. You're working in this particular area. One day, this baby turns up in the childcare sort of thing. And some scientists have been coming by and, you sort of overhear them talking about dissection and all this sort of stuff.
Right.
So you decide to kidnap and get out.
Okay. So to them, this is a fairly normal... They obviously have aliens coming through here regularly because it's the Bermuda Triangle and it's Area 50, whatever. But to you, you're a new recruit or something.
A new hire or something like that.
Yeah, and you're particularly empathetic and... Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
You know what I would love? Bianca was telling me a little while ago that in childcare, there's an agency that can send out people if they don't have enough staff. So I'm thinking that they just happen to not have enough staff because of some outbreak of
So you're just
illness.
a childcare worker?
And so you're a childcare worker that comes in and you see this alien, you fall hopelessly in love with it, and you hear something about dissection, so you basically go, no, I need to get out of here. Right. You're just an agency worker.
So you're not even a scientist. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I like that. What I think could be interesting is maybe, and there's an aspect of a Rick and Morty episode here, but maybe the baby actually grows quite quickly. So as you get to later levels, the baby does start getting older and is able to walk for itself. And so then you're on a bit more of a sort of an escort mission sort of thing, making sure it doesn't toddle its way off a cliff or into the hands of the scientists. But also as you continue going, you realize that the reason that they kill these baby aliens is that they grow up to be incredibly dangerous and violent.
And they're actually telepathic.
Yeah, well, they've got... Yeah, that's it. They've got...
That they're inserting ideas into your head, go get food.
Love me, because I'm a baby. I'm the baby, gotta love me.
Not the mama.
That's interesting. And then because you've got this bond with it, you're sort of able to utilize its powers, but as it gets older, particularly as it gets into the teenage years... if you want to go down that Rick and Morty route, it starts rebelling against you and you can't control it as well. So there's sort of some interesting narrative things there you could do with that relationship. at the same time, it's still being this like challenging, kind of stealthy puzzle sort of game, moving through these environments.
Yeah, I like the idea that you can have pre-scripted sequences that sort of happen along the way. That at first you've got a mobile phone that you got with you, and then you find out that they're tracking you through it, so you get rid of that, and then
absolutely. Look, I think it would be fairly heavily scripted and event-based levels in that very
like an inside
exactly, but just each little section is its own kind of puzzle around getting through without this baby getting caught or without you getting caught. Or, later on without the baby turning on you, or there are certain events where the child does turn on you, and so or you don't have it for a while because it goes off on its own because it's rebelling against you.
Yeah,
and then you got
to follow like clues to actually
to like track it down and stuff. Yeah,
I like
that's awesome.
3, 2, 1.
All right, let's do one more. Earning
sincerity.
Okay. Again, sincerity is a hard thing to measure. So from a gameplay point of view, I'm not sure we can use that as a resource or anything. Although earning definitely implies something around that. Sincerity and earning. So maybe this is a used car salesman.
Oh, God.
I'm trying to think what the sort of gameplay could be on that. I sort of like the idea of a semi-retro aspects of, and we go to this well a lot, but aspects of Papers, Please, but crossed with sort of a bit of a management game. Not like super in-depth.
Did you ever play the old game Street Rod?
Yes. Yes, I think so. Yeah, it was like a racing game, but you would get other cars and you had a bunch. Like you could really customize it a lot and stuff.
You could do a lot of customization. You'd have to, sort of go in and actually change timings on the engine and that sort of stuff to get it to run a little bit better, and then you could race for pink slips.
Yep.
It was like a really in-depth game. The idea of it sort of being that, or like your what was it, the Car Mechanic Simulator 2015 or whatever it was. But all you're doing is you're trying to fix these cars that you purchase
and like sell them off,
and then sell them off on the lot.
Okay, so there's a bit of what was it? A bit of Matilda's dad from Matilda, like his whole thing.
Sandpaper. There's sand in the gearbox.
Yeah, so you're basically trying to make these run
sawdust. That's right.
Trying to make these run as smoothly as they can on the cheap, so you can sell them off. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I like that. So yeah, I mean that goes very much like I could still see the aspects of that I was thinking of it being in there, where you've got certain things where you're dealing directly with customers, and there's almost a bit of a bit of conversation tree, but also a bit of figuring out the right thing to get the sale, right? So in the same way that Papers, Please is about like matching up information or whatever, maybe you sort of have to, through conversation trees, you learn a bit about them, and then you have to choose the right kind of strategy and like where to, give them a little bit of money off or where to hold the line. And depending on, you sort of learn over time the best ways to do that. But then there's also this aspect of you managing the inventory that you've got and the modifications you can do to that to make them sell better, to be able to put the price up on them.
Yeah, I really quite like that. And just maybe having to work out, okay, this has got X number of scratches on it. I can buff these ones out for like X amount, but this big dent, I can't do anything. Okay, can I actually
like replace the door on it, or
can I disguise it with like put a sign over?
Oh yeah,
it.
Okay, yeah.
Just
because you got a big thing up, all sales are final. Drive it off the lot and it's yours. So yeah. If they're off the lot before they realise, it's fine. I do like that a lot. And we could go relatively in depth with it, like Street Rod kind of did, where you're literally going in the engine and adjusting timings. Maybe or the Car Mechanic Simulator sort of thing. Like you could have it that you're actually sort of digging right into the cars and doing these things, but you've got a lot of dodgier resources. And look, maybe
all you've got is the other cars on the lot.
Well, I think maybe you could look, if you play well enough, you can go legit because you managed to build up enough money to buy proper parts and fix these cars properly. But like that's sort of the really hard, like that's the ultimate. You got to play it really well to get to that point. And, occasionally things will happen, like, you're in a bad part of town, so some arseholes come and graffiti the side of your building, so you got to pay, $3,000 to get that scrubbed off or whatever.
I kind of want this to almost go dark during part of it, so that sort of like one of the fixes that you did to your car actually ended up being fatal to someone.
Oh God!
And it's literally how you deal with this and how you stop it.
Right. So you've really got to sort of
coming
start,
back to you, sort of
thing. You start seeing the repercussions of what you're doing. That's you could go dark with that. I
like that you're going dark with that.
I'm also just wondering if no, I guess not. I was going to say you could put a different spin on this and make it like a space thing or a future thing, just because then you don't necessarily have to be dealing with real life car parts and stuff. You could make stuff up. Yep. And so there's a bit more of a learning curve, but it's all sort of got its own internal consistency of like, if you put brown matter in the neutron core, then it works better than the dark matter. Like it works better than the dark matter for the first 30 clicks, but then the whole car will just stop working, and if they're in the middle of an asteroid field, then they're going to be in trouble. That sort of thing.
Well, I quite like that idea because then you can do anything with that.
Well, that's it. It kind of gives you a bit more freedom to really make these interesting. Yeah, like the way that these vehicles actually run.
I really like the idea that to fix some of these cars, like crap, the spark plugs to ignite the plasma.
Yeah.
In this, they're totally ruined. Okay, I'll grab one from this car, one from this car, one from this car.
That's it. I feel like someone could really have a lot of fun in the game design department. Well, and in the design department of coming up with sort of common parts for all these vehicles and how they work together, but also making them all very distinct. And if you go up to a black hole powered whatever, like it's still going to use some of the same parts as just you've actually got a combustion, like it's still just using plain old rocket fuel, down on the cheap side. It's an old banger.
I'm just picturing with the black hole, like it's just a micro black hole, but
yeah, it's just a micro singularity.
Just don't let the containment field.
Yeah, exactly. You've got containment field stabilizers or whatever, and it's like, well, but I can't afford, the proper brand containment field stabilizers. So I've got some magnets, from this other type of engine. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. Okay. I reckon that's it for today.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's stop the thing. So, thanks for joining us this week on Bitstorm. If you want to find us on the internet, we are on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram as Bitstormcast. We have a Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Bitstorm. We are on YouTube. Search for Bitstorm or point, click, repeat for some of the videos we've got up there. And we are on Podchaser at podchaser.com/Bitstorm.
We're on iTunes, where we'd love it if you could go rate and review us there. After you've finished your rating and reviewing on Podchaser.
Of course, that's much more important.
Got a website, bitstormcast.com. Like to plug our friends at the AGPN, the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network. Search for #AGPN on Twitter or the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network on Facebook. Finally, we'd like to thank Kuridas for the song Mount Defiance off of the album Containment Failure.
So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott.
And I would like to sell you the best neutron-powered jet bike that you've ever seen. Barely been used. Just a little old lady who drove around the solar system on Sundays.
Okay. That's okay. I'm just going to ghost ride the whip with it anyway.
Perfect.